All right, so the ones that I'm working with tonight are Petal Palette. This is a two-part stamp set that's in the new Occasions catalog. It also has coordinating thinlits that go with it. And we're going to work with some of those tonight, okay? So there's that stamp set. We're also going to use Beautiful Day. This does not have thinlits with it. And I think those are the only ones. I want to talk a little bit about Happy Wishes, which is the other one I like. This is a celebration one. Now, celebration's going on right now for January, February, March. What happens when you place a $50 order, you get to pick a free something. And there's a whole catalog of free somethings that you can pick. You can't pick other products. There's only specific celebration products that you can pick, but it will tell you what they are. If you're wondering and you don't have a catalog yet, if you've placed an order on my site in December or January, you are eligible for a catalog. I've sent out some and I have more on their way to me and will be coming. If you know you placed an order and you didn't get a catalog this past week, I'm sorry, I'm running behind, but drop me a note and I will make sure that you're on the list that's going out this week, okay? If you don't have a catalog and if you haven't placed an order yet, if you go again to that Kara Miller that I showed you and you see the catalogs right on that main page, you can download those and look at them that way. So you don't have to spend money to look at the catalog. But if you have placed an order, you get a catalog free. The other thing that you get this month, if you place a $50 order, not only do you get Stampin' Up! Rewards, but you get invited to my online crop on January 20th, where we're going to be scrapbooking using our Stampin' Up! Product. So lots of fun things going on. And of course, remember every Wednesday night, I'm definitely here. And tonight's just a bonus. All right, so here's the first sketch. I kind of folded it. It looks kind of messy, but that's okay. My printer was doing weird stuff. And I've pre-cut some of these, so we wouldn't be all night here. This particular one, I'm going to be using the Layered Leaves dynamic embossing folder, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. I also used, these are the layered circles, thinlits. I'm looking to see what their name is to get it right, but I probably won't. I won't, but I'll post it in the at the bottom of in the classroom after the recording. I'll have a list of actually what I used. So first thing you want to do is start with your base card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's a traditional A2 card. I take an 8 1/2 by 11 sheet of paper, and it's set up this way. Cut it down the middle at 4 1/4, score it at 5 1/2, and now I have 2 cards. All right, easy peasy. Then I want a 4 by 5 1/4 piece. This is one of my favorite pieces of paper. This is, again, from the Occasions catalog. This is a pretty calm design. This is so pretty. The gold is amazing. And again, I don't remember its name because I'm terrible at this and I'm really sorry. But I'll list it off for you because you won't remember it anyway. Just know that we love it. So I could use this side, or I could flip it over and use this side. Again, the 4 by 5 1/4. The next is a 3 by 3 3/4. And I took a piece of Whisper White, and this is what I ran through this embossing folder. Now remember, I'm going to come over here to this other camera for a minute. When you're using the embossing folders, it's a little bit different sandwich that you're going to run through the Big Shot. You are going to use the platform that comes with your Big Shot, and it says Big Shot Platform. Nothing else is needed, just that. And when I'm using this embossing folder, the dynamic one, this is thicker than a traditional embossing folder. See the difference? So because it's thicker, I'm only going to use one of the clear plates. So to run this through, I'm going to take out my magnetic platform that I use all the time. I'm going to run this one. I'm going to put my paper inside. Now, I could do this with the Whisper White. I can also do it with the Designer Series paper and run that through. So let's trim that down and see what that would look like if I use that. I'm having a little bit of issues with my trimmer because I wore it out over the holidays making my Christmas cards. My blade is horribly dull and I'm waiting for a new one. It's not here yet. So sometimes it doesn't come out looking as nice as it should. So it doesn't always look like this. This is my problem, not yours. But my blade is really dull. So there's 3 1/4 by 3. And I'm going to bring that over and I'm going to pop that in here. All right. And then I'm going to take the one piece and I'm going to run it through. And that's enough. And now it's not really it's not screaming, it's just really pretty, really subtle, right? And the gold is just enough. So this is going to go here. And now truthfully, this is where I want you to look at sketches and think, boy, I could really change that up. I'm going to show you it as though I used all the pieces. This piece is this 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. The 1 by 4 is going to go right across here. And then my 2, this is a 2 1/4. And maybe if I flip this over, it would look better. And then this can go on top. And this is using this Beautiful Day flower and then punching it out. So you don't get the whole thing, you just get some of it. I'm then going to take my Stampin' Blends and add a little bit of color to it. So I did this on Whisper White. Now, one of the things I have to be careful about is I did this not using my Memento ink, which is really the ink that you would want to use with this. So if I'm going to use the blends with this, I would have to have stamped this in the Memento ink. We talked about this the other night, and there's a in the classroom there's a chart that shows you which ink goes with which coloring material. This is the Memento. Clearly it's black. So because I want to add a little color to this, but I don't want to smear it and have it all get ruined, I'm going to grab my colored pencils. This is done in Calypso Coral. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to highlight a little bit of this. I'm not going to color the whole thing. I'm just going to add a little something to it. Now, another interesting way to have used this is I could have done heat embossing with some gold. Would have looked really cool. So don't just be stymied and say, oh, well, that's what she did, so that's what I'm going to do. Take the sketch and go from there. It's a jumping off point. Right, so I'm adding just a little bit of color here and there. And you're really thinking to yourself, that looks like the worst coloring I've ever seen in my life. You're going to then take the blender pen and you're going to just fill in a little, and you're going to see all those lines disappear. And then it's just super subtle, right? Looks 1000% better. That blender pen is magical. Right? Love it. And then maybe I will take some this is the Daffodil Delight, and highlight the center of my flower, right? And then I can go through and color some more. So don't be, again, here's another example of stepping outside of what you thought you might want to do. And then let's grab some dimensionals and pop this on. The Always Thinking of You, again, is from Beautiful Day. Love this one. I think it's just so pretty. And now we can pop this all together. A couple other things I could have done. Let's go back to the beginning. And now I could have gone this way with this piece, because again, I love that paper. And this has to go like that because that's the way I embossed it, but it still looks pretty cool like that. So I'm going to grab my snail, open you up. I'm going to pop this on here. Notice this layer is cut to give you a little frame around the edge. So is this one. I could have taken a little bit of ink and edged around this one if I wanted to get carried away. Now this one I'm going to flip over and use a different pattern at the bottom. I could leave it alone and not do any and just pop this on there like that. Save myself a little paper, save this piece for later. Oh, I like the hearts too. These are all part of that same designer series paper. And then this guy is going to tuck in here. And he's going to go like that. And because the paper is so dynamic and so pretty, you really don't need too much more. You could add some, some little bling over here if you wanted, but you really don't have to. All right, so that's following the sketch. Looks a little bit different. I ended up taking, instead of the small sentiment here, this one was a little bigger, so I popped it down here. I did this, made this one a little bit bigger. This was a 2.5 inch circle because I didn't have one that fit that exactly. If you have a punch, you could use a 2 punch and a 2.25 inch punch, and you're all set. Okay, so that's that sketch. Let's move that one over here. And now, let me pick up my mess just a little. Anybody have any questions? No? We're all good? All right, cool. Let's go to, this one I did 2 different things to show you. This one is using this sketch that I really like. Again, ignore my printer doing weird things, printing this out for me. It doesn't look like that for you. The same 4.25 inch card, 4.25 by 5.5. Only I did this using the masculine paper. And look how simple and cool this looks and easy enough to do. Even if you don't stamp it, you can come back and stamp it later. This is ready for the birthday party that you forgot you have to go to, and you just, what are you going to do for that guy, right? Super easy using that sketch, okay? Now it's ready. I did do a little congratulations that could go here. I could add a dimensional embellishment on here, a pre-made one. I could stamp and color. Lots of things I can do. This is using the stitched layered thinlit. I love that. Okay, so that's one way to do that card. Let me put you over here. Here's another way to do it using that same cool paper that we just used. We're going to start with this as our base. We're going to pop this layer down. instead of cutting the strips, I need to bring it back. Instead of cutting the individual strips to get this blue background like I did here, I went even quicker and I just cut one piece just like on the other sketch. So instead of this one is 4 by 5 1/4, this layer. So I took a little bit of the other sketch and a little bit of this one, and I made it super easy. So then I've got my layered 2 by 2 and 2 1/4, and notice the top layer is the stitched shapes. I use that constantly. This set of Thinlits gives you so many opportunities. It comes in an oval, a circle, and a square, and I use it time and time again. It's really a useful set. So now I have those two things ready. What am I going to do for the vertical ones? I cut these out of simple Whisper White, and I am going to run those through different textures to get different looks to this. The Stitch Thinlits are still available, yes. They were back ordered for a little bit, but I think they're back. I'll check on those for you, Shannon, if you want. All right, so I'm going to come back over here, and this time there is a really cute set in the new catalog of embossing folders. This one is flowers, and this one is vines. Really cool. So I'm going to do 2 in the flowers, and if I'm good at this, I might be able to get them both in at once. Now, because these are the regular ones, I need both of my clear plates to make these work. Don't get over there, get over there. So both flowers and 1 vine. I need a couple extra hands to do this. You want to make sure that your vertical lines are straight, or your vines are going to be crooked when you emboss them. And maybe you don't care. Maybe you'll be staying up tonight because they're crooked. Get these in here and just go for it. It's only paper. You can't hurt it. Run it on through. Now you could do 1 at a time. Now I'm going to bring these guys over here. Now where do you see how this looks, right? So now I have my flowers, right? Super cool. I'm going to just stay with a white on white. I could take my stamp and add a little ink to it with my sponge, but I'm liking just the white on white, deciding which way I like it better. I guess this way. And this is just going to slide over a little bit. I suggest that you do the 2 edges first, and then you can always, it's hard to tell which way they go. They look really cool both ways. And then you can center that vines in the middle. Line those up. And then run your vines down the middle. Right? Really easy. And then this guy goes on top. And then I'm ready to stamp on here. Probably would stamp before I glued it down, but I just want you to see how it looks. Super easy way to do 2 totally different cards. This one's incredibly feminine because of my color choices, but the same design. Now I can foof this up by adding some ribbon to it. Because I have this one piece, I could easily tuck my ribbon underneath and have it come across the top. Let me just grab a piece of ribbon and show you. If I was ribbon, where would I be? I would be right here. Okay, so this is the organza white. Love this. It's so pretty. And I'm just going to pop you up for a sec. Tuck this under. And then now I have a really cute ribboned girly card and a boy card. Okay? Using that same sketch, but whatever pattern paper that you choose changes up this card so much. So if you're matchy-matchy, this works. This works too, being matchy-matchy, but you could grab, it's a great way to use your scraps up. All right, card number 2, moving right along. This one is using probably my favorite paper in the catalog, the designer series paper, in this sketch. And this is the Petal Palette black and white. And you think, oh, it's black and white. Really? Why do you like it so much? Let me show you. We're going to start with the black. Oh, this is 3 layers on top of the card. So I start with a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, right there. Then I'm going to go with 4 by 5 1/4, 3 3/4 by 5, 3 1/2 by 4 3/4, and then my circles, I'm going to do the 2 1/4, and then the 2 I haven't done yet because I'm going to do something on, I'm going to stamp on that first. And then I have this that's going to go right here at the bottom, all using that same paper. Now, what can I do? The question is, how do you get the sketches? Great question. These are in that classroom that I will post the link for you. If you just go to karamiller.com and click on Classroom. Actually, let me stop for a second and show you so we don't forget. You want to come to karamiller.com, click on Classroom, and then these are all the classes that are going on right now. Some have a fee, some are free. You want to scroll down until you get to this one, the one with the Lucy card on the front. You're going to click on that. If you have not already joined this class, you'll just click on Join Me. It's free. And then you'll scroll down into the curriculum and you will see all the recordings. So the recording from tonight will be there and the sketches. If you click on the card making, you will see each of the sketches are right here, and there's the PDF to download so that you can have these. All right. So let's go back to making, I just have to tell it what we're doing. Back to this camera. Awesome, you're welcome. And we're ready to put this together. What can I do to this? And it's like, okay, the black and white's all right, but you know what? It's getting a little bit much. What else can we do? First thing I'm going to do is to get my scrap paper to put underneath. Now, I showed you how the watercolor pencils work. They would work for this project as well, but I'm also going to grab the Stampin' Blends. Now, remember, I like this, right? I'm going to grab my Old Olive, light and dark, and I'm simply going to take the fine point end, it's a fine and a brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and add some color, just like it's a coloring book. And I'm going to go ahead and add color to this little piece. I start with the light and then move to dark to add some shadow to it. It's easier to go dark. It's not so good. It's not so easy to lighten it up. So put down your light color first. I could be here all night and I'm trying to do it in a rush, so my coloring is not the neatest, but it'll work. And you can see that it goes pretty quick. It really does. So go ahead and color that in. And then I'm going to take this one. And you can see this is a little bit darker. And I can go back over the lighter colors. I love these alcohol markers. They're really super easy to work with. And at first I thought I was worried about them being thick and square, but they really fit well in your hand. They really do. So anywho, give this guy some color. And then remember I told you about the stamp sets that I liked. I wanted to use the Petal Palette. There's a couple of really cool ones in here. The bird, of course, and the flowers. And then if you look at the Thinlits, let's see which one goes with which. Well, here's our bird. So he's cool. And then here's our flowers. I want to show you the difference if you use both of those. These are clear mount stamps, and you're thinking there's nothing clear about them. They are the red rubber stamp, but they mount on clear mount blocks. Now, you can choose to have these on wood if you want. I like these because they're much smaller and easier to store. So I tend, yeah, sometimes I don't, but generally I'll say I always, and that will be a lie. I don't always, but usually I use, I'm looking for my smaller block that's here somewhere on this table. No, we'll go with a big one, who cares? So there's our flower, and here's our little bird. All right, so now we need some Whisper White, and if I'm going to color, Whisper White thick works better than the thinner Whisper White. So I'm going to grab myself a piece of that. And now, if I'm coloring with the blends, I want Whisper White thick. If I was coloring with watercolor pencils, I could use regular Whisper White. And again, there's something in that classroom that shows you all those details about the different colors. So I'm going to use Memento because I want to color this with the blends. And we're going to ink up this one. Because it's a big image, I flip it over like that. It's easier to do this than it is to try and pat it on the ink pad and not get ink all over your block. All right, so let's get you super cool. And then our bird. He's littler, so I can do him this way. And I look at it and make sure that I have a nicely inked stamp. And you're looking at it thinking it doesn't look complete. It looks a little blotchy. That's because that's the design of the stamp. It's supposed to look like that. And if you aren't sure, look on the cover and see how it looks kind of in and out. It's almost a watercolory look. That's how he's supposed to look. So you didn't do anything wrong. He's supposed to have kind of a shaded look about him. All right, so we're good. Now, I can simply go cut them out using these. I'm going to do my coloring first in case I mess up. And then I can always go back and fix it. So what do I mean by mess up? Well, what if I happen to go outside the lines? Well, I've got my Thinlit that will save me, even though I'm going to try not to. You notice that I tend to start and bring it in. I'm not right at the edge. There is a little bit of bleed if you push down too hard. If I zoom in a little, you might be able to see better. See, I'm not going outside the lines, but I'm not going right to the very edge either, and it's a really light hand. I'm not really scrubbing or putting a ton of color down. You can always come back in and do more. Less is more when you're doing this. And if I'm a little bit away from the edge, I'd rather do that than have it go way out to the edge and bleed all over my image. You'll notice I'm coloring a lot more this year. It's because the stamp sets in this Occasions catalog really lend themselves to coloring. They really do. And the blends and the colored pencils are so easy to work with. I love them. All right, so that's probably enough of the light Old Olive. I didn't realize I was off the camera. Sorry, when I zoom in like that, it messes things up. Now I'm going to go with the dark Old Olive, and those are the only colors that I need. So if you've tried to color with other markers before and get overwhelmed by the 12,000 color choices that you have to do, and are you doing it in the right order? You don't have to with these. It's light and dark, and that's it. And depending on how much you put down, you will see how you can blend it in. All right. And no one is going to see it as close as you're seeing it right now. So if you see a little something, it's hand painted, it's handmade. It's not something that was printed. So you have to get over the perfection part of it, and you have to get it so that you like the look of it. I love coloring with these. And then I'm going to grab some Calypso Coral. I'm not going to do all these flowers, or we'll be here all night long. Same idea though. And I don't have to worry about whether the black is going to smear because I use the Memento, so it's not going to. If I had used the archival black or gray or any of the other colors, those could potentially smear when the alcohol hits it. So I just kind of go over the whole flower. Then I bring in the dark. And I'm going to think about which way is the light coming towards my flower. I'm going to assume the light's coming this way. So this part of my flower is going to be darker because it's in the shadow of the bloom. Not necessarily evenly the whole flower, just part of it. And as long as I keep my light consistent, so on this flower, the light is still coming from this point. So this part of the flower is going to be lighter than this. This part of this flower is going to be lighter than this part. My picture will look good. If I start to get crazy about which way my light source is coming, that's when it looks out of whack. And people will wonder, is it a psychedelic adventure or is it really a flower? Okay, super easy, right? All right, let's try cutting these guys out. We're going to go over to the Big Shot. Just have to trim you down. Now, granted, I would finish coloring the flowers, but today we're going to live with them just the way they are. And now, because I'm using Thinlits, I'm going to go back to the magnetic platform. This doesn't come with your machine. It's probably one of my more useful tools. Love the magnetic platform to the Big Shot. I don't have to worry about the positioning of my dies, my thinlits, that they're going to hop around. Now I can come back and finish these flowers. This is not the end of the world. Position you, and you just kind of work out a little bit till you get it exactly where you want it. And my bird's going to go on too. And then I need the top layer. Nicole, that's a great question. Did I go back over the flower with a lighter color after I did the dark? I did, to blend those two together. I'll show you another one in a minute. But yeah, what that does is it blends so there's not as big a distinction between the light and the dark. All right, so come back here and I'll do the middle flower so that you can see. So I start with the light. And I tend to use the brush more often unless I'm really working on some detail stuff. And I'm just going to go over and put down color. Notice it's not like a color, it's kind of a dabby. That's such a word. And then, and now I said my light source was up here, so I'm going to bring in my dark color down here. And more under the edge of this one. The tips might be lighter because the sun might hit it. It's going to be dark in the center. All right, now that isn't awful. Let me get you close again so that you can see. But there are some lines. You can see where the dark and the light ended. So now if I take the light marker again, and I'm going to kind of take this dark and blend it up this way. Still keeping my lightest color at the top. And you can see that it just makes those colors more gradual. Okay? And then if you have more trouble with it, you can go back over it. There's also a color, let me show you this one. This is the color lifter. It's kind of a misnomer. It doesn't really take the color off, but it will push, it's more of a color pusher. So for example, if I decided I really want this lighter up here, I can try and move this way. Can you see how that gets lighter? It doesn't ever take it away. It just moves it a little. The only thing I've noticed is this potentially can take some of the black with it. So you kind of have to be careful with this. It also wets your work more. So as it dries, it will change a little, but that helps to get your highlight. So that's the color lifter. Some people think that if you make a mistake, you can remove it with this. You really can't. It doesn't remove the color. It will kind of move it. I think, for example, let me do one. I can show you where I don't recommend it. Just need to stamp something really quick. Here's something. Oh, here's one. Let's say I was coloring this one and I went outside the line. So I'm coloring away and I'm really happy. And then I go, oh, shoot, that isn't what I wanted. I'm outside the line. I don't want that. Oh, I'll just take my color lifter and I'll lift off the color. And I come over and I'm forcing this back. And if you look at it and you think, well, it sort of takes it away. Wait till that dries. Pretty much what it does is just make a green blob. Doesn't really take it away, okay? So here it worked great to lighten those flowers and give me even a third color. So now I've got the dark, the light, and then the super light. Works pretty well. Sorry, we don't want to talk to whoever that is. Okay, all right. So let's come back. Now we've done some coloring. We're going to bring our cards back. And if you want to, this is not super heavy paper. It's reasonably heavy paper, but it's not as heavy as like that pink stuff was. So I can do some really fun things with this if I want to. So let's put this one down. And then I'm going to take my dimensionals and I'm going to pop up the next layer. I have a couple choices. I can use this one or this. I'm going to use the polka dots. But I'm going to pop this up a little bit to give it, well, some dimension. Oops, come here. Go here, and here, here, and here. So this starts to make your card a little more, just give it a little more oomph. I could use solid colors in between this. I don't have to use designer series paper through the whole thing. I could pop some cardstock in. If I wanted to add some color, I could pop some of this in here, and that would look kind of cool. I'm sticking with the black and white for now. Now remember, this is what I had planned to do. Whoops. You and you. It's getting a little busy for me. So what I might just bring you out and not use you. I could also take this out. This one's a little less congested. This looks a little better. And then maybe I could bring this guy in and be okay. Or I could use a solid color here. So the 3 layers really add a lot to your card. You can see how it adds so much to the stability and the strength of the card. Sometimes the color might be a little much to go with 3 layers. So maybe you don't want that. You could also do this and pop those in. These guys could go on dimensionals. So lots and lots of options with this black and white paper and adding your coloring tools to it. Now on this one, these are perfect for coloring in. And again, these could be done with your colored pencils or they can be done with the blends. If you're using the colored pencils, you're going to do the same thing. And if you work with the same idea of light and dark, so how do I do that when I only have 1 pencil? I lay down my color. I'm going to use the same light source of coming in from up here. So this top part of my flower is going to be light. This is going to be dark. I'm just going to add more color to it by coloring over it a few times. All right. Again, you're looking at it thinking, oh, that's not very good. Looks like a 2-year-old did it. But you bring in your blend. This is not the same blender pen as the one that goes with the Stampin' Blends. This one was made just for the watercolors. You can let that dry a little and you can always come back and add more. But see how that's darker down there because I put more color with it? You can also, if you want to add more color, let that dry a little. Lay some color down here. Whoops. Just some color on your scratch paper. And then you're going to pick that up with a blender pen and put that down on the flowers, almost like it's a paintbrush. Okay? So lots of coloring fun. Love this paper for that. Make sure that you go into the classroom after this, get the recording and your sketches, and I can't wait to see what cards that you do. Please post them on our Facebook page and share them with everybody. I'd love to see what you're doing. I will post the links of all the materials that I used tonight so that you'll have them and you can figure out exactly what I did. I know, I love this paper. Isn't it cool? All right. Anybody have any questions that I didn't get to? Facebook friends, if you, whoops, cupboard's open. If you had questions and I didn't get to them, I will go back and look at them on the Facebook page and I'll answer them for you. You can always drop me a note, Kara@karamiller.com, if I said something that you weren't sure what I was talking about or you want a little bit more information. Have a great weekend, you guys. I'll see you all soon. Bye.